Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to the show. Got my crew with me, Darnell and Tyler. I'm Trey, and we're coming your way with the 41st edition of the Don't Kill the Messengers podcast. Got a lot of stuff that we have to cover today, so first thing we're about to get into is the UFC. Currently, the main issue that we're about to talk about is GSP. He's got released from the UFC with his contract situation that he had with him. Darnell, that's your guy, man. What were your first thoughts when you first heard about that?
What is the UFC doing? It's been going for a couple weeks. Dana's been trying to play hardball, trying to say GSP doesn't want to fight. Of course, that hasn't been what's coming out of George St. Pierre's camp. But earlier this week, he did an interview with Ariel Helwani, announced that he said he was a free agent. Said there was some kind of loophole in the contract where since they wouldn't offer him a fight, he was out, which like I said is crazy to me. They have a card coming up in 2 months. It's in Toronto, which, I mean, that just only makes sense. Have the comeback of quite possibly the greatest of all time in Canada. I think that would be a huge buy rate for pay-per-view, huge attendance at the gate. So, like, it just seems like this is an instance of the UFC cutting off their nose to spite the face. And Dana White just trying to show he has the bargaining power when, even if it means he's making a dumb decision.
Yeah, I was very shocked by this, particularly by Dana White. I think he's been, I'll say it, I think he's been money whoring, basically a lot, especially Conor McGregor. He's been bringing in a lot of money for the UFC. I think he's been catering to him. But before McGregor, GSP was a top guy in the UFC when it comes to bringing in dough. So I was very surprised. And, you brought it up with Toronto coming up too. That would have been a perfect chance for Dana White and the UFC to get some major profits going off of that pay-per-view if he could have squeezed GSP into the fight card for that event that's coming up. So I was just very shocked by this. And, with a guy like GSP, I think him coming back, I'm not, you already know this, especially Darnell, I'm not a huge fan of him at all. But people love to watch him fight. So, just very
Which is weird that you only like people that win all the time. So,
to me, he's a boring fighter, man. But one thing about him, he gets the job done, and you're right, he wins. So, like I said, just very shocked by this. Do you think there's any way possible that they put egos aside and they just renegotiate like a new contract for him or anything, or do you think it's basically a done deal for him in the UFC?
I'm still not gonna say it's out of the question. There's some factors in here that I'm wondering how they come into play. All know the UFC, they have their deal with Reebok. GSP is signed by Under Armour.
Yeah.
Pretty sure they're paying him handsomely right now. I wonder if there's some kind of bad blood there. UFC, they recently were purchased, which was big news a while ago. I believe George St. Pierre is managed by another firm outside of the one that purchased the UFC. I wonder if that plays a factor in it.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's things outside of Dana White that are at play here, trying to, kind of put pressure on George St. Pierre to change his allegiances, basically. But they're putting themselves in a tough situation because GSP, he's been their top moneymaker when he was there. So it's not like they're negotiating with somebody that's broke. He doesn't need to come back.
Yeah.
He wants to come back. So it seems like this should be a win-win on everybody's side. But, UFC is the UFC, and, Dana White is that figurehead. He doesn't like to lose in a negotiation, and he can be spiteful when it looks like he is, and that might be what's going on right now.
Yeah. Now, what about could you possibly see him at Bellator too, or anything like that, or you think he could? If anything, he'll wait it out.
I mean, if it comes out to if he wants to fight bad enough, if he wants to get back in there to compete, I know he wants to go against the best in the world. Right now, that is the UFC.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's money fights out there. Bellator, Viacom could throw some money at him, and they could probably do crazy television numbers. George St. Pierre has never fought on free television.
Yeah.
Cable television. He's only been on UFC pay-per-view, so that could be something big there. Bellator just signed Chael Sonnen if he wanted to fight at 185. They actually have a pretty robust 107-pound weight class GSP at Bellator, so there's fights for him that could bring money.
Yeah, I could definitely, just kind of like what you just said, man, just based upon, how bad does he really want to get into the ring. Any other final thoughts on the UFC before we move on?
It's a crazy situation, but, I think both sides need to come back to the table and make this happen. Like I said, have him come back in Toronto. That could do crazy numbers. Robbie Lawler has said he would love that fight, and I'm pretty sure if out of Wonder Boy and Tyron Woodley, if one of them came out of it unscathed, I think that would also be crazy numbers if he could go against one of them.
Yeah. So just have to see, man, for sure. Up next, we're about to get into the NCAA, particularly football. We had some good games last week, guys. First one we're about to talk about was Ohio State versus Wisconsin. What did you guys think about this game? Do you think it was closer than you expected?
Oh, definitely. I think a lot of people thought that this game was closer than they expected. I think I picked State by at least 2 possessions. I figured Ohio State would get comfortable in the game and find a point and take over. I think this week showed more that Wisconsin is a real team. You take Ohio State to overtime and you only lose to Michigan on the road by 7. You're taking the second and third ranked team in the country to, well, at the time Michigan was 4th. So you're taking 2 top 5 teams to 1 possession games. You're doing something right. I think this shows that Wisconsin has the top 10 talent, potentially top 5 talent. They just haven't gotten the win yet. Where you place the blame there, I don't know if you really can, because I feel like they played a way better game against Ohio State than they did Michigan. I'll admit that. Their quarterback played a better game against Ohio State. They were able to move the ball a little more. I don't know if that was the comfort of the home field, the home crowd, or what, but they exposed Ohio State a little bit, and they were able to move the ball both on the ground and through the air. And then their defense kept JT Barrett in check. They still scored their points, but when you play Ohio State, you're expecting them to score points. The thing was they didn't allow huge plays to happen left and right. They just kept Ohio State in check, made them, for the most part, play a lot of small ball, really work the ball down the field. In reality, I think that was a very positive game for Wisconsin. I think they have proven to themselves that they can play with the best teams in the country. I think moving forward, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Nebraska, to see if Wisconsin even gets a chance at the Big Ten championship game or not. In reality, the way they played this season, I think they deserve it. I think they're a better team than Nebraska is. It'll be interesting to see how the records play out on that side of the Big Ten.
Yeah. Wisconsin, they showed there should be no question about them right now. They are legit. Based on the 2 games you mentioned against Michigan and against Ohio State, playing close with Michigan the whole time, taking Ohio State to overtime. Fell short in both games, but I think both of those teams would be pretty much terrified to face back up with them coming year in a Big Ten championship game, because they've only gained confidence with both these games, and Wisconsin's defense is scary.
Yeah.
Scary good. And, they're doing this with a freshman quarterback right now. So just more games he plays, just the better he's going to be. Wisconsin something to look out for. I mean, they still have to get over the hump of Nebraska, like you just said. Nebraska hasn't had to match up with the Titans of the other side like Wisconsin has, so they'll need some things to happen for them. But if Wisconsin can get back into that Big Ten championship game against one of those two teams, it's going to be must see TV.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, now what about NC State versus Clemson? Clemson, they've been in some pretty close games this year. But what did you guys think about that game?
It was a shocker, especially after the game against Louisville, where Clemson finally came out and looked like the big-time team that we were expecting. They come out against a NC State team that everybody expected them to blow out of the water, and they really didn't start pulling away. I mean, it took overtime again here. They never did really pull away. They had to, sneak out by the skin of their teeth. And, you had a decent game from Deshaun Watson. A lot of passing attempts. I think he had to throw the ball 52 times. Didn't get much on the ground. So, I mean, back to NC State, they played out of the game against them, but just not the result you expect. You didn't expect a overtime game where Clemson only puts up 24 points.
Just just real quick for me, man. The MVPs of that game, man. I got to give it to NC State's teammates, man, with that kicker, because I would have cussed his ass out, man. Just being honest, that was tough to watch, man. Just how that dude was just missing those field goals, man. Just one field goal, they could have won the game, man. And he just, I would have went ballistic, man. But his teammates, man, they're hell supportive. I got to say that, man, for sure. But go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, I think when I saw the game on TV, they showed the records next to the team, and I'm like, NC State's 4-1. Since when? Like, you don't hear about them. Nobody's talking about them. Just a very quiet 4-1 and unranked. So you figured, all right, they haven't played anybody, so Clemson should a cakewalk, really. But that was not the case. The NC State defense really showed up to play. Forced 4 turnovers, recovered 3 fumbles, and an interception. The defense, despite almost giving up 500 yards, kept NC State in that game till the very end. And like Tunein mentioned, the kicker just unfortunately wasn't able to put it through at the end. NC State did everything they needed to do to win the game. They had the last play in regulation. It was theirs to win. It's just unfortunate that, all the blame's going to end up going on the kicker for missing the kick. I mean, I feel like everybody did their job on that team except for the final play. It's unfortunate, but it's the way it is. So, Deshaun Watson was, he was good enough, stat-wise to, stay in the Heisman discussion and all that. So I don't think he has anything to worry about there. That would have been a good opportunity for him to gain a little bit of ground on Lamar Jackson, but I don't think he gained ground or lost ground, so that's good. In terms of Clemson, I think they're showing that they're still beatable. They rise up to the occasion of the game, but they've also sunk down to the competition as well all year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to them moving forward. Are they going to continue to just be the team that sneaks them out? Are they going to figure it out? Who knows? But all I know is, Dabo Swinney called that win against NC State a gift from God. So somebody on that team's doing enough praying.
Now, you kind of brought it up, Ty, a little bit. NC State, they were 4-1 coming into this game. Do you think people are just overlooking them a little bit, or do you think it was more Clemson just had a bad game, or what do you think that kind of fell onto?
Yeah, well,
for you
I
guys?
think we've seen it all year from Clemson. They're playing down in competition. I mean, if you look at NC State's wins, it is, I can't even tell you who this first team is, William and Mary, and then they beat Old Dominion, Wake Forest, and Notre Dame. So they had 4 wins that were not noteworthy.
Yeah.
Granted,
And they did
anytime,
lose to Eastern Carolina too.
correct. So I mean, granted, anytime you beat Notre Dame, it's something to brag about because their fans hate it. But you know, it's not like that's a super impressive win anymore. So to have 4 wins against, in reality, garbage opponents, you're not going to get the notoriety for it. But still, being 4-1 is being 4-1. And next week, NC State plays Louisville, so it'll be interesting to see if they can put up a similar type performance and potentially have a chance to win it, or if they're going to get steamrolled like we thought they would have against Clemson. So next week will be an interesting kind of tell game for NC State.
Now, right before we started, the season actually started, you know, we had our little preseason talk of the show. We kind of had our discussion about the SEC being still the top conference for the NCAA. Big Ten, man, they're making a statement with some of the teams that they have that's in their conference this year, man. They got a lot of talented teams. So far, just looking at the season so far, did the Big Ten, do you guys feel as if the Big Ten overtook the SEC, or do you still feel as if the SEC is the top conference in the NCAA?
That's such a hard discussion to have, especially right now, because you have both conferences are definitely top heavy. You have Alabama, who, you know, winning national championships and everything else. So, you know, you're clearly going to say, all right, so they have the best team in the country. But then when you look at the rankings, you see more Big Ten teams in the top 10.
Yeah.
You have, you know, Wisconsin at 10, Nebraska at 8, Michigan at 3, and Ohio State at 2. So it depends what you want to look at. Do you want to look at the depth of a conference? Do you want to look at how top heavy a conference is, who has the better team, or teams? Because I mean, you kind of have to look a little further than just one team in a conference. So do you want to see who has the better teams at the top? It's really a tough discussion to have. I mean, if you look through the rest of the rankings, you know, the SEC has teams at 1, Alabama, Texas A&M 6, Florida 15, Arkansas, Tennessee 17-18, Auburn 21, Ole Miss 23. Like they have teams all the way down. Ole Miss 23, LSU 25. I mean, top to bottom, I think the SEC has more depth than the Big Ten does, but the Big Ten just has more teams toward the top right now. So I don't really know if we can answer that question, who's a better conference. I think the SEC has more depth, historically has had more depth, usually sees more teams ranked, usually has, you know, the best team in the country. I mean, look at the national championships they've won in the last 10 or 15 years, way more than any other conference. So tough discussion to have, but I think the Big Ten's gaining ground.
I mean, we won't get the final answer to that until bowl season is over.
Yeah.
And
a lot of Big Ten SEC matchups.
Yeah. Do we have a national champion and all that kind of stuff? But basically, if you take a snapshot right now, yes, right now the Big Ten is the best conference in football at this point in time. If I had to say a number one conference, is Big Ten. The best team in football is still in the SEC. That's Alabama. But you look at that top 10, you can't deny you have Ohio State 2, you have Michigan 3 or 4, and depending on the poll you look at, and Nebraska, Wisconsin, all rounding out the top 10. SEC still has a lot of teams in there, but to have that much power in the top 10, I think that's something to look at. So right now I give the edge to the Big Ten, but like I said, it's with the caveat that, I mean, I'm just saying snapshot at this point in time is the Big Ten, but we won't have that question answered until the season's over.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's fair. You guys ready for the pick'ems?
Yep.
We are all tied for NCAA 16 to 25. 16 out of 25. First game we're about to get into is Texas A&M versus Alabama. Alabama, they have a minus 18.5 spread for this game. Who do you guys have?
Alabama.
Do we all have Alabama?
Yeah,
sir.
I would hope.
Let's make sure. Darnell, that's Alabama for you too, man?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I do like A&M. They're a fun team to watch. They've been a surprise. Their defense has been a surprise for me, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They've gotten some good quarterback play, which was a question for them. But yeah, I still got it. Just Alabama's looking like an NFL team out there. I'm rolling with them.
Yeah. Do you want some scores real quick?
All right, sure. Yeah. Do you guys?
Well, Alabama won big last week when we thought it might be a little bit closer. So I'm going to go Alabama 35, Texas A&M 21.
All right.
Bama 38-20.
All right, I got Bama 31 to 17. Up next, we have Ole Miss versus LSU. LSU, they have a minus 6.5 lead for the spread.
I'm going to go Ole Miss. Better quarterback play, even though sometimes it's bad Kelly, like Tran likes to say, but I'll take bad Kelly over whoever LSU can put behind center.
All right, man. Nothing wrong with that.
So quick, I'll give a score real quick. I'll go 31-20.
All right. What about you, Darnell?
I'm actually going to go with the favorite here. I'm going to go with LSU. Believe the game is in Death Valley.
Yep.
And it's a night game. Just that mystique of LSU at night. They're a bear to take on at night. So I'm going to go with the Tigers and their new look team post Les Miles. So I'm going to go with LSU 31-24.
All right. I'm going to go with Ole Miss on this one, man. I think we're going to see good Kelly this game, man. He's been up and down this whole entire season, but I think he's going to pull it through this time. I do have this being a close game, like you just said, Darnell. It's going to be in the Valley, so I have Ole Miss winning this one 21-20.
So you know our cousins are going to like me more this week.
Yeah, it's true. Oh, man. Last but not least for the NCAA, we have Arkansas versus Auburn.
I will take the Razorbacks. I think they're going to ride some momentum off the nice win of Ole Miss last week. They're at a good spot in the rankings, to be honest. I believe.
Oh, and by the way, real quick, Auburn, they have a minus 10 lead for the spread.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't care. Still going Arkansas. Like I said, I think they're going to ride. Yeah, I just think they're going to ride the momentum from last week. Like I said, I think they're going to be pumped over their nice spot in the rankings, wanting to improve on that some more, get another nice win this week, and they'll see themselves keep moving up. So I'll take Arkansas 27-17.
All right. Well, I'm against you again, Tom. I'm going with the hated Auburn Tigers.
All right.
Got to separate yourself in this tie of the pick'ems anyway.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, games in Jordan Hare. So going with Auburn here. Arkansas might be looking for a letdown after last week. So I'm gonna go War Eagle, 31-21.
Did that hurt for you to say War Eagle?
A little bit.
Did you shed a tear?
It kind of threw up in my mouth a little bit.
All right, I'm gonna go with Arkansas on this one. I'm not an Auburn fan either, so I got to root against them. So hopefully they can pull it off. They're gonna be playing. Arkansas is gonna be playing in Auburn, so should be a pretty good game. They do have Auburn with the -10 spread, but I think Arkansas, they can pull it off. So I'm going to go Arkansas 24-17. Guys, any other thoughts on the NCAA before we move on?
Nope.
All right. You good too, Darnell?
Yeah, all good.
All right. Okay, up next, we're about to get into the NFL. Just as always, how we always usually started. Thoughts on your guys' teams?
Darnell, do you want to start it? I mean, we both got wins again. What is this?
Yeah, I know.
I don't think anybody expected both teams to be
no, not
where
not
they're
as
at.
Yeah, I mean, I guess all I can say is, that old saying, how about them Cowboys playing some great football? They went in against the Pack. I showed faith in them there. I picked them in our picks last week, and they made me look like a genius, basically. They ran all over him. They got after Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Rodgers looked bad against him, honestly.
Yeah.
Couldn't find room to get any passes off. They made him cough the ball up a couple times. Dallas's defense, which has been pretty much terrible over the last couple of years, they look like it was 94 or something like that. But yeah, and the rookies keep rolling. Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott the Jerry Jones and company made some good picks last year, and it's starting to show. And that O line is they're owning that label as the best line in football.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Dallas, man, because the reason why I picked Green Bay, they had the number one rushing defense in the NFL. I think they only allowed 35 a game, and Ezekiel Elliott, he just had 157 rushing yards on him. So that was just pretty amazing, man. And for him being a rookie, man, he's doing some amazing stuff with that team, and Prescott too. So they're handling business.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so these Lions have won 2 in a row, and things are looking up. Granted, still have some ground to make up in the division. That's going to be real tough with how Minnesota's playing. So definitely we'll have to take advantage of the games we have against them. But with Green Bay trending down, Detroit could possibly sneak into second place before too long here. I mean, as of right now, Chicago has the lead on Green Bay with a third-string quarterback. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, like we said, Aaron Rodgers just isn't Aaron Rodgers right now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Green Bay. But in terms of the Lions, they're starting to figure some things out. Still looking comfortable, still throwing touchdowns. An interesting shootout against St. Louis, to be honest. Case Keenum, who knew he could throw for a ton of touchdowns? Who knew the Lions would have to try and keep up? Just a very interesting game from that perspective. But what's kind of what hurt the Lions last week was no Theo Riddick, so they relied on a running back by committee with third stringer Zach Zenner and just signed Justin Forsett. So neither guy really did anything to brag about, but just trying to keep a defense honest, I guess. But Golden Tate, breakout game for the season. Good thing I dropped him in my fantasy league. I believe he had 8 catches for over 150 yards and a score. So, I mean, hopefully for the Lions' sake, he can keep it up. They need him moving forward. Marvin Jones, people knew that he wasn't going to have repeat performances of his 2 touchdown, 180 yard day. So, they with Eric Ebron currently out. They needed someone else to step up that wasn't 50-year-old Anquan Bolden, and it was Golden Tate this week, which was really nice to see. So hopefully this Tate Jones Bolden thing can balance itself out and be strong. So, I like the Lions at 3-3. We were just talking a little bit ago. I really believe they could be 5-1 at this point. They lost really a game they shouldn't have lost to Tennessee, and then just looked really bad against one of the worst teams in football in Chicago. So shoulda, woulda, coulda, but it is what it is. They're 3-3. They can definitely build off of that. It's not the worst spot to be in right now. They're about a game and a half out or so, but that's because Minnesota's already had their bye week. So, they could still make some noise. At 3-3, you can still contend for a wild card spot. So there's still a lot of positives to move forward with this season. The defense will have to pick it up though, for sure.
Yeah.
Since you were the last with Detroit, Tyler, brought it up before the show. This whole Matt Stafford issue was not really an issue. It was kind of good if someone thinks of him like this. But Peter Schrager,
right?
Yeah, Peter Schrager, he brought up that, he felt as if Matthew Stafford is one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL and might be the best QB in the NFL. Since we all, from the Metro D area, how do you guys feel about this? Does he go over his head or what?
I think he's a little ambitious with the statement, to be honest. I mean, this is still a league where Tom Brady's in it. Ben Roethlisberger is in it. You're looking at guys with multiple Super Bowl rings. Matthew Stafford doesn't even have a playoff win yet. It's a very ambitious statement to make. I do think in terms of quarterbacks, Stafford's trending upward while a lot of guys are trending downward. Jim Bob Cooter has seemed to found some sort of mixed formula for Matthew Stafford that has really elevated his game. One thing we talked about, before the season started was I believe that not having Calvin Johnson was going to allow for Matthew Stafford to lose the tunnel vision. And that has actually happened. He's finding a lot of receivers. He's finding the running backs. He looks comfortable out there, still throwing for multiple touchdowns a game. It's just to more than Calvin Johnson. So do I think Stafford is a top QB in the NFL? I mean, it depends what your definition of a top QB is. Is that top 5? Is that top 10? I do think he's a top 10 quarterback, and I think you could very easily make that argument. Top 5, you'd have to fight for it a little harder. So, in my mind, is he one of the top QBs in the NFL? Yeah, but that's because when you say top, you're talking about roughly 10 guys. Do I think he might be the best in the NFL? Absolutely not.
What about you, Nizo? What you think?
I mean, kind of to what Ty said. I think he's being a little too aggressive there with that might be the best in the NFL talk, but Stafford's definitely been having a breakout season, in my opinion. I've made my statements about him. I've not regarded him very highly. Again, before the season, I said I thought he was a bottom half of the league quarterback. He's been proving me wrong, and I'm not afraid to admit that. He's looking like a top 10 QB right now, and I have no problem saying that. But to say he might be the best when you got the seasons like another quarterback who I'm not usually very high on, but I mean, you got Matt Ryan having a great season.
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger before the injury. Brady was suspended, but I mean, he came out slinging. Drew Brees is still looking amazing. So I got to fall back on saying he might be the best quarterback in the league. I mean, I got to throw a little love in for my quarterback, Dak Prescott. I think is still having a better season than him right now. But yeah, definitely, I think Stafford's found a nice spot, especially with Jim Bob Cooter. Still have trouble saying that name. But they seem to be working well together. And they may have found a system that Stafford works well in. They've calmed him down. He's not just staring at Calvin Johnson. He's going through reads. He's checking down when he has to. They may have found lightning in a bottle, and this may be what's needed for Matt Stafford. Seems like the offense has been simplified a little bit. Not as many deep drops. They're letting him just get the ball out to receivers and keep the offense moving. It's running a little faster. They're doing more no huddle, which he always works better in. So it's a little bit of Stafford maturing and a little bit of they found the right system for him.
Mm-hmm. All right, now let's hop back to your Cowboys, Darnell. Jerry Jones, he's kind of been on and off with their whole quarterback situation. Just to get your thoughts on it first. Once Romo is clear to play, do you think he should start over Prescott or what?
I'm usually one of those old schoolers where you don't lose your job to injury, but this team is rolling. And I'm also a firm believer in if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
And, you got a team that's only lost one game, and it was the first game of the year, and they haven't been looking back. And the team's gelling. They're working well together. I don't know if you want to throw a wrench into that and put Romo in there. I mean, Romo is a really good quarterback still if he's healthy.
Yeah.
But just they found something here. I think you don't worry your quarterback now that he might have to go back to sitting because the previous starter is healthy again. This is looking like one of those New England situations when Brady took over for Drew Bledsoe. It's a pretty similar situation here. The career starter gets injured and the new guy comes in and is basically wrecking shop. You can't mess with that.
Yeah.
You can't mess with you can't mess with Dak Prescott's head right now. He's in the zone. The team's doing well. They're 5-1. Like, what else can you say?
Yeah.
Numbers don't lie. So I don't think you start Romo, and I think thinking even in his own head he understands that.
Yeah. It's a catch-22, but it's a good situation to be in. Not many teams know what they have in a backup quarterback. At this point, you're looking at a situation where you're going to start a guy who has a world of experience, or you're going to start a guy that has your team at 5-1. I don't think you can go wrong in either decision. The only question I would have is how long is it going to take for Tony Romo to find a rhythm, to find a groove? Kind of like you said, you have a guy that's 5-1 and rolling, has the trust of the team, has the trust of the fan base. I mean, other than I don't even know the last time a rookie quarterback has really never had a doubt in a fan base. I don't know. I have a few friends from Texas that I met at college. None of them are saying, "Oh, I can't wait for Romo to get back." Now, I understand some people have never said that, but this is just such a good problem to have. But I would side with Darnell on this one. I think you roll with the guy that's rolling. Yeah. I don't understand why you would want to, break the current chemistry that this team has going. I mean, with Prescott, with Romo, you're going to have two different kinds of chemistry. Neither's better than the other, but it's just two different styles of play. It's two different quarterbacks, two different ways to play the game. Neither's right, neither's wrong. I just think you need to go with what's working.
Now, another topic about your Cowboys, man. Dak Prescott, he has been praising Elliott. Just looking at how he's been playing in the games, he made a statement this week that he believes he can get over the 2,000 yard mark this season. So, what do you think about that?
It's not out of the question, honestly. Yeah. Like going back to what you brought up, Trey. I mean, they played the best rush defense in the league last week, and he went for about 50.
Yeah.
And I mean, behind that offensive line, that they just seem to maul whoever they come up against. I don't think it's a crazy statement.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody had high expectations for Zeke coming out of college.
Yeah.
And he's proven everybody right. He had basically the only game where he wasn't good was his first game.
Yeah.
Since then, he's played good to great, and I think he's caught up the speed of the game. He's gotten used to it. He knows he has to hit holes faster now, and he has that patience of a 5-year vet running the ball already.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's out of the question.
Yeah, just real quick. So far he has 703 yards, averaging 5.1 yards a carry with 5 touchdowns. So he's been doing his thing so far this year, man. Just needs to keep it up. Not particularly don't get caught up in all the hype and everything. Still just focus on your job, and if it happens, it happens. But if he keeps it up doing like this, he could definitely have it, which would be outstanding for sure for a rookie. You have anything to add, Ty?
No, I think Darnell kind of hit it all there. Just he looks beyond his years, and when you look at the other great running back to come out of Dallas, you're looking at Emmitt Smith. I'm not calling Ezekiel Elliott Emmitt Smith, but if he can keep this up, that comparison will be made.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of people down that way are already trying to make that comparison.
Yeah, and I would understand that. I mean, it's definitely an exciting situation. It's years different from a Darren McFadden start, but it'll take more than 1 or 2 years for me to start putting those two in a conversation together. But I can definitely see people, especially the diehards, making that type of a comparison this early on. I mean, it's super promising.
Yeah.
Now, up next, about to talk about Perfect. I do believe, was it 75,000? He was fined.
I believe so.
Oh yeah, he was fined 75,000. Just for with the whole LeGarrette Blount's issue, stepping on him, and he was jawing off with Gronk too. We had this whole issue last year going in to the game with Pittsburgh, with he had the hit on Antonio Brown. Just last week, does this basically seal the deal that he's a dirty player, or do you think and plus, do you think the NFL should have done more with the fine, suspend him and whatnot, or do you think the punishment was just, and did that last week prove that he was just a dirty player?
You want to go first, Ty?
Yeah, I'll attempt to answer this one. It's hard to say that somebody's a dirty player. I mean, the track record's there now, so if you want to call him a dirty player, I think that's absolutely fine. A lot of people call Ndamukong Suh a dirty player. I wouldn't disagree. The only thing for me is the fact that when you're out on the football field, and Trey, and you've said it before, you're not out there to make friends.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand you'll do what it takes to win, but I don't necessarily think stepping on people, after the play activity and things like that are the answer. I think Perfect just needs a little more self-control out there. You're going to do nothing except pull money out of your pocket and cost your team 15 yards plus. Yeah. Should the NFL be doing more? I mean, maybe, but it's the fact that no matter who it is, if you have a track record, you're going to see a very similar punishment. I don't. We're not going to see someone just like get suspended like that and be like, well, Vontaze Burfict didn't get suspended. I think the NFL understands that. What they do is a business. You need your bigger name players on the field for ratings, and when your ratings are already dropping and they're trying to figure out why. I mean, if you're not gonna keep these players that people want to see on the field, no one's gonna watch. So a fine, I get it. I don't necessarily know that you should be suspended. This is the first time we've really heard his name this season.
Yeah.
I don't think we should be looking
at. Well, too, he was suspended. Yeah.
I was gonna say he hasn't been on the field.
Yeah.
No, that's true. I forgot. Well, wasn't the suspension from last year though?
Yeah. From
so I mean,
Pittsburgh.
So my thing is, this is his first offense this year. I don't know that the first time this year should warrant a suspension, but I mean, everybody's gonna have an opinion on him, especially now that all eyes are going to be on him.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm fine with the fine. I would have been fine with him being suspended again. He's just building a resume for himself, where he's going to be under a microscope. And it's not looking like he cares to change his play style. He's aggressive. He makes plays. He's a good player, but he's going to make life very expensive for himself.
Yeah. And doing that can cost his team too. If he keeps messing it up with suspensions and penalties and whatnot too. So.
Yeah, I totally agree there. So, I mean, it's to the point where I'm fine with what they did right now because, like you said, Ty, it's his first offense, even though, like I said, he hasn't been on the field very long. So, hope maybe they just thought throw a fine at him and say, hey, you just missed some games for this. How about you clean it up? Let's leave the bad hits alone and all the jawing and everything, and let's play within the rules of the game. But I don't know if this guy can change.
Yeah.
He plays a certain way. I don't know if he can control it. I'm not saying he's intentionally dirty, but he does things that are just, you got to pull him to the side and go, what are you doing?
Yeah. Call timeout just for him. Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely agree with both of you guys' points. I think he's a hard-nosed player. Definitely, he's very aggressive. He's just gonna have to learn how to control some of that a little bit. Because it's not looking good. You already got suspended, and just a couple of games into after your suspension, you're getting slapped with $75,000 fine. And with the jawing off and everything like that. So he's definitely, the NFL is definitely going to have him under their microscope. They're going to be looking at him more, but, definitely, I think he's a hard-nosed player. Sometimes when you look at some of these hard-nosed players, you can definitely say that they're dirty or so, but, a dirty player, but, he's going to have to learn how to control that, man, because those fines, that's going to cost him financially. And if it's going to keep costing him his team, kind of like with the whole Pittsburgh issue last year with, penalties and things like that could cost his team a win or, to advance further into the playoffs, that could cost him a job. So he's just going to have to learn how to, keep that in check. I don't mind watching, hard-nosed defensive players playing, but, he's going to have to learn how to be tamed a little bit when he steps on that field.
Yeah, you like a little edge to your player, but it's starting to get a little ridiculous.
Yeah, there has to be a line in the stands somewhere.
Yeah. All right, guys, you ready for the pick'ems for the NFL?
Let's do it.
We are not even at 500. We are 11 for 25. We're all tied. Granted, I should be in the lead because my man Julio did get screwed over last week.
Right.
But it'll be all right. I still come out on top. Y'all know the deal, man. First game we're going to get into Washington versus Detroit. Detroit, they have a -1 lead for the spread.
So you saying we're going to do Washington, Detroit?
Yeah.
Yo, Trey, you're not even there.
Oh. Hold on. Hey, can y'all hear me?
Well, I think we're supposed to go Washington, Detroit.
Lines are favored.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
There he is. There he is.
All right. Unplugged it. So, and okay, yeah, go ahead. Yep. Washington and Detroit.
All right. So, to me, this is going to be an interesting game. The Lions have a terrible pass defense, but Kirk Cousins isn't exactly known for throwing a lot of touchdowns. I mean, he has the ability to, but this year he hasn't really had a breakout game. I think they could this week. But hey, I'll go with it. Let's go with the Lions for 3 in a row. I'll take the Lions in a good scoring affair. I'll take them 31-27.
All right.
Yeah, I find myself here picking Detroit as well. Playing in Ford Field. We got best quarterback in the league, Stafford. Just a joke. But they are playing good football. They seem to have the offense going well now. So yeah, hopefully there can be some semblance of a running game with that carousel that's going right now for them. But yeah, I will go with the Lions 28-24.
All right. Y'all know me, man. I'm going with Washington. I think they'll pull it off. So I think it's going to be a close game, though. I do have Washington winning. I'm going to go with 23-20, Washington. Up next, we have the Patriots versus Pittsburgh. The Pats, they have a -7 lead for the spread.
I think we'll see that increase as Sunday gets a little closer. No Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
I think that's going to hurt. But the thing is, Pittsburgh still has a lot of weapons. Sammy Coates been nice so far this year. Jesse James has proven to a really nice tight end. So Pittsburgh still has a lot of opportunity, but I think the Patriots, Tom Brady and Gronk will just be a little too much for them. So I'll take the Patriots 28-17.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with the Patriots here as well. I would probably feel different if it was Ben Roethlisberger under center, but Landry Jones doesn't bring out the same type of thought process. There's still going to be weapons there. They do still have Antonio Brown. They still have Le'Veon Bell, but Brown might not be quite as effective because it's not his normal person getting that ball out to him. So I'll take the Patriots as well. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think the Steelers will still come out to play. They're at Heinz Field, so they'll want to put up a good game for the fans. But I just don't think they'll have enough to overcome the Patriots. So I got the Pats 24-17.
All right. I got the Pats as well. I just don't really think Pittsburgh will pull it off since their beast Ben Roethlisberger isn't going to be playing. So I think the Pats are going to have the edge and they're going to pull through. So I do have the Pats winning this one 24-14. All right, up next we have Minnesota versus Philly. Minnesota, they do have a -2.5 lead for the spread.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This one's a little interesting because Minnesota seems to struggle on offense at times, but their defense is so good. The saying, defense wins championships. I expect Minnesota to be able to put enough points on the board. Bradford likes to find, Kyle Rudolph in the red zone. So I will go with the game manager, Sam Bradford, in that Minnesota defense by a score of 17-10.
Yeah, I'm rolling with Minnie as well. This will be the toughest defense Carson Wentz has come up against, and I think they give him trouble all day. Stephon Diggs is back in the lineup for Minnesota. That gives their offense a boost, so I'm going with the Vikings to win this one 28-21.
All right, I do have Minnesota winning this one as well. Just think that they've been tested all year and they just kept overcoming. So I think they'll overcome this one as well. So I think their defense will step it up big time for Minnesota. So do have this one being a close one. I have Minnesota winning 17-14. Last but not least, we have Houston versus Denver. Denver, they have a -8.5 lead for the spread.
Yeah, nice little comeback by the Texans last week against a bad Colts team, but I'm going to take Denver in this one. Better defense. I think a more capable offense. I just think a few more weapons. Even though, Houston has weapons too, but I think it's just the idea that Brock Osweiler has either looked poised or looked like he doesn't even belong on a college roster. So, I'm gonna go with Denver in this one, 27-21.
Yeah, rolling with Denver as well. They're at home. The quarterback that slighted them and left to go to Houston. I
true.
think they play this one with a chip on their shoulder. I think Brock Osweiler is going to be under attack, basically.
Yeah.
He hasn't looked that great for Houston. 8 touchdowns, 8 picks on the season. I think he ends that game with more picks than touchdowns. I think Denver has something to prove here. They want to show that they didn't lose anything by having to start Trevor Siemian. So I'm going to go with Denver here. 28-10.
All right. I'm going to go with Denver on this one as well. I think they're playing in Mile High. Brock's coming into their town back to where he played. Think they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. They're going to come out there ready to hit him and, make him wish that he never left. So like I said, have Denver winning this one. I have them winning 24-10. All right, guys. Anything left? Any other remarks for the NFL before we move on?
Nope.
All right. Last but not least, we're about to get into is the NBA. We had the Eastern Conference last week. Now we're about to get into the Western Conference because season's getting ready to approach. Start on the 25th, I believe. So. Golden State, man, they're the talk of the West. Have Durant, just to start it off, man. Do y'all think they're going to break their regular season record with Durant?
No.
I would agree.
I agree, too.
New team. They got to gel. Let's not even talk about 74. Let's just throw that one out.
I wouldn't be surprised if they
do you think they'll come close to it, like maybe miss it by 4 games or
Yeah, I think they could easily come within 5 games of it.
Okay.
Because that team on a bad night should still be able to beat 95% of the league.
Okay. They're good enough to do it. Well, they have enough talent to do it. I honestly think that's kind of in their heads from last year, winning that 73 games. I bet they probably told themselves that's part of why they didn't win the championship.
Yeah.
Because, we got to the playoffs. Steph Curry was basically never healthy. So I really don't think the thought process will be on winning a boatload of games. I think their focus is get to the playoffs and hopefully be the number 1 or number 2 seed at worst and get home court, get to the finals, win the title. I think that's going to be the focus. So I don't think they're worried about winning 70 some odd games. If they win 62 games and can be the 1 seed, I think they're good with that.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a question we'll hear Steve Kerr get asked a lot. We'll hear basically every player on the team get asked a lot is, does the regular season record matter? And because of last year, the answer is going to be no. They, like Darnell said, they want the championship.
Yeah. Now, do you think there are going to be any teams out there to challenge them in the West? And if so, who?
No.
It's all right.
Like, believe it or not, I think this is going to be the first year in a lot of years that I can remember that I think the Eastern Conference is better than the Western Conference, top to bottom. I think Golden State is clearly the best team in the NBA. I think the East has more teams that will be able to challenge its top. I don't see too much depth there in the West this year. I think Minnesota's got a good squad, but I don't think they're Golden State good. Dallas is going to have a pretty, have a pretty decent squad, but I don't think they'll be able to keep up with Golden State. So it'll be interesting to see who comes close to beating Golden State this year. But I don't think if you put anybody up in a 7-game series with them, we'll see it go past 6.
Just real quick, I'll say mine. I do have San Antonio. They did get rid of Tim Duncan did decide to retire, but my man Powell.
I was going to say they got rid of him.
Yeah, he retired, but error of words, my bad. But Powell, he's over there. He's on the backside of his career. He's not 27 anymore, or anything like that. But I think he could help him. One key issue that I do have with the Spurs, though, I don't know if you guys heard it, but there have been some reports that LaMarcus Aldridge is not happy there. So I was kind of looking through that today and yesterday. So if they could somehow keep him satisfied, because supposedly he's kind of disappointed about being the second option to Kawhi Leonard. So hopefully if they could get those two to work right and everything like that. And plus, I just believe in Pop. They did find a way to win against the Heat, when they had the Stars over there. I think he could somehow find a way to pull out a win against Golden State if they were to match. I just believe in Pop. I think he's a great coach. He can find ways to get it done. And plus, with Golden State, everybody was looking at their record last year. The San Antonio Spurs, they had a pretty good record as well. I think they won 67 games, I believe. But they were pretty close to getting close to that record as well. They had a pretty good season too. So I think San Antonio, that will be the team to do it out of anybody.
I agree. If there's one team that can challenge them, it will be San Antonio. I think they did find a serviceable replacement for Duncan in Powell to step in. And I mean, actually, it's probably an upgrade based on how Duncan ended the season. And, Powell's still been pretty steady. His drop off in production has been slight.
Yeah.
Been a little bit, but it's not like he fell off a cliff, kind of how Duncan did that final season. So that's the one team that you give a shot at doing something with Golden State. Maybe if somehow they get their heads out of their butts, it would be the Clippers, possibly. Yeah.
They got the talent, man, but
but they can't seem to put
do
together.
It. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, but I mean, outside of those teams, that's about as far as I'm going with it. As far as anybody that can give Golden State any kind of scare, come
Yeah.
playoff time. Outside of that, it's going to be whoever they face in the finals.
Yeah.
Now, what players, like I said, with the East, there have been some new players going to new teams. Are there any players over in the West that you guys expect to thrive with the new teams over in the West?
Yeah, one player I expect to do pretty well with his new team is going to be what seemed to be kind of a really interesting move was Victor Oladipo to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, that's right.
I think he'll play very well there. I mean, losing Kevin Durant, that basically slides Oladipo into that second option in that offense, in my opinion, behind Russell Westbrook. I mean, Russell Westbrook's going to screw around and almost average a triple-double this year. It's going to be ridiculous what he does. But, somebody else has to score the ball too, and I think we'll see Oladipo kind of take a next step in his game this year. He'll have more of a role with this team than he did in Orlando. He'll have a few more pieces around him to do well too. So he's on a better team. I think he'll be able to learn from Russell Westbrook a little bit. I think he'll be able to just based on what Oklahoma City is going to be able to do. I think Oladipo is going to have a really good year.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. I mean, I go back to basically what I was just talking about. I think Powell is pretty much the perfect pickup for San Antonio. He's going to slide into that. He's going to be the third option, so there's not a ton of pressure put on him.
Yeah.
So he'll be able to be that, solid 15-foot jumper that he has, and some games he's gonna kill some other players on that other block outside of Aldridge, where they might put their best defensive player on him, and Powell will just be able to kind of just eat. So I think he's a smart guy. I think he saw the opportunity go in there, and I mean, I think he's extended his career another couple seasons because he's not going to have to go against the better defensive post players in the league. He's going to get the lesser on most teams where he's going to put up better numbers that might be a little bit deceiving.
Yeah. For me, Powell, that's my guy. My man Kobe retired, so he's like him and Rondo, those are my two top players in the NBA right now. So I'm expecting big things out of him. Kind of like what you said, Darnell. He's not going to be like the second option or anything. He can kind of just ease his way in there and just get the job done without a lot of pressure being on him. So expecting big things from him in San Antonio. Another guy, if he can stay healthy, he's been having problems with that, but Eric Gordon, I think he can do some good things with that D'Antoni offense in Houston. And another guy, just real quick, he can't be any worse than he was last year. But Ty Lawson, he's going to be in Sacramento, so this could be a good chance for him to rebound, if he can get his head and everything together. So, he wasn't playing that well last year, but, maybe just a new change of scenery, off season where he can get his head together and everything, he could just pull it off. So those will kind of be some guys that I'll be looking at. Now, who do you guys have making the playoffs? Just all the teams.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard.
So yeah, I mean, of course, let's just scratch off 1 and 2, Golden State, San Antonio.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll still put the Clippers at 3, just based off of the players they have. I'll think Houston probably be the 4 seed.
Just to make sure, Houston without Dwight Howard?
Yes, I think they'll probably actually be better without him.
Okay.
Just
including the Mavs and Grizzlies, man?
Huh?
Including over the Mavs and Grizzlies, too?
I think so.
Okay.
I think Harden is actually that good offensively.
Yeah.
Where he can probably sneak them up into that 4 seed. But after that, I'll go Dallas, Memphis, Minnesota, Utah, and rounding it out, I'll say Sacramento.
Interesting. I mean, it's so hard to predict. I'm not saying you're wrong, but the teams I have, we have the same first 3. With 1 second here, gotta pull up what I wrote down. Golden State, San Antonio, and the Clippers. I think those 3 should be pretty clear cut. And then the rest is really going to be a crapshoot. I'm going to put, man, this is one I've been flip-flopping on a little bit. I'm going to go Dallas at the 4, Memphis 5, Minnesota 6, Portland 7, and Oklahoma City 8.
Okay.
All right. For me, I actually have Spurs number 1.
Of course you do.
Yeah,
of course you do.
I think Golden State, man. I just think with
the
them,
Lakers too.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think with Golden State, it's going to take a little bit of time for those to mesh because, like when LeBron and all those guys, they got together, they didn't start the season off, perfectly. They had to, get a little
It's only one new player coming in, though.
Yeah, but I think, man, like I said, that with Durant, Clay, Steph, like I said before, I think, oh my goodness, Draymond, I think he's going to have to take a step. I think it's going to have to work for them offensively, to kind of get the offense going with those guys because those are a lot of shots be taken by 3 guys. So I think offensively, especially, they're going to have to get some chemistry worked out just with the shots and everything that those that they're going to be taking and everything. So I just think, I think it's going to be close, but I think San Antonio will find a way to edge them. Next, I have the Clippers. 4, I have the Mavs. 5, I have the Blazers. 6, I have the Grizzlies. 7, I have Minnesota. And 8, I have the Rockets.
You said the Rockets at 8?
Yeah. Just think, Harden is going to have a lot of, just pressure on his hands. And he can't carry, I don't think he's going to be able to carry that team just by himself. But I think they're going to get in there in the last spot. So
we're losing you. I don't hear any of that.
Can you hear me?
Like it's worse than it was the other day, last week. Yes.
All right, yeah. It picked it up, so I could just delete that little part out with that little pause.
Yes.
So,
yes.
All right. Now up next, let's see, where are we at? Dang. Okay, well, yeah. What are you guys looking forward to the most out of this season? Regarding teams, matchup, players, or whatnot.
I mean, I think a lot of the obvious can. How does Cleveland do after winning the title?
Yeah.
How does this Warriors team look with Durant? Do they just tear up the league, basically? I want to see that first matchup between those 2 teams.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, you want to see some of the movement of other players. I want to see how Chicago looks. I want to see how New York looks. Bunch of new players on those teams where they seem to be trying to build their little second-tier super teams.
Yeah.
I want to see how that goes.
Yep. Yeah. Another matchup I think we'll all be ready to watch is the first time Oklahoma City and Golden State play in Oklahoma City. The Boo Birds will be out. It'll be very similar to when LeBron went back to Cleveland. No nice words will be shared. It'll get chippy. The crowd's going to be super into it. I think Golden State will win the game, but still doesn't mean I won't be glued to it no matter what.
Also probably put up 50.
And that's the other thing I'm going to be really excited to watch this year. I'm going to want to watch Oklahoma City every time they're on TV. Because like I said, that man can screw around and average a triple-double this year, and it will be ridiculous if he does. He could potentially have one of the best single-season performances on a bad team. Well, they're not going to be bad. I haven't made the playoffs, but they're not going to be what they were. They're not going to have a shot at the finals like they did last year. So,
well, I think it's possible they missed the playoffs. I got their ceiling at like 17.
Yeah, well, I meant they won't have a shot at the finals.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I mean, in a year that Oklahoma City's not exactly used to, they could see one of the best single season performances ever. There's potential for it, and the thing is, everybody's talking about it, so it's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on. Another thing for me is going to be is the East going to be as deep as they appear? I think they will be. I think they have a lot of talent. I think a lot of the stars are coming back toward the East side. A couple of guys moved within the East. Like Al Horford going from Atlanta to Boston. But then you have some guys coming over to the East, where late last year we saw Dwight Howard get to Atlanta. So, I think the East is going to be the better conference top to bottom this year. I think the West is going to have the best team. It's my Big Ten SEC argument. Are you going to want to see depth, or are you going to want to see top-heavy performance? So it'll be an interesting year for the East. A lot of question marks, like you said, Darnell, around those second-tier super teams like the Knicks and the Bulls. So I think there's a lot to be excited for this year. It just depends, what each fan wants to see specifically.
Yeah, you guys basically touched on, everything I was thinking, with the Cavs, how they will play after winning the championship, Golden State. But one thing in particular I really wanted to be excited for seeing was, one of my highlights of the season last year wasn't actually really during the season. It was during All-Star Weekend. If Levine and Aaron Gordon can get in the dunk contest again and put on a show like they did last year, I'm going to go nuts. So that's going to be one in particular. If those two guys can stay healthy and they can get in that dunk contest again, I'm going to go crazy. So it's not going to be, ain't no telling what they're going to be pulling off in that dunk contest if they get in there. So that's just another thing to add to what you guys were saying.
So what Trey looks most forward to this season, the dunk contest. With two players that will have no bearing on anything other than the dunk contest.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey, we'll let Tran be excited for the little things.
Yeah. But just to move on, question I have next for you guys is, Colin Kaepernick, he's been making a, big stance in the NFL right now. A lot of people are still talking about him as we speak. Can you possibly see his stance playing a huge role in shifting over to the NBA, where you see guys sit down for the national anthem and whatnot?
I have no doubt it will affect the NBA.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I don't think you'll have players sitting just because Kaepernick doesn't even do that anymore, but you'll see some fist raised, maybe somebody taking a knee or something like that, but I definitely think it spills over into the NBA. Adam Silver has already addressed it, saying that, he's fine with players expressing themselves in that way. So I'm pretty sure it's going to come.
Yeah, definitely agree. I mean, we saw the NBA, or we have seen the NBA already move on things like Black Lives Matter. just various issues like sexual assault and abuse. We've seen the NBA already have political stances, warm up shirts inside out, just numerous things. So there is no doubt that what Kaepernick has started or has been credited with starting will definitely transfer over to the NBA. I think what will be interesting will be fan reaction. And I guess the reason I say that is because when you're at an NFL stadium, it's outside. Noise doesn't necessarily carry. When you're in a arena, noise will carry. It's a smaller venue. So I think it'll be interesting to see if more people take a shot at it or support it in a vocal way. Because I just because of what you see on social media and things like that, some people are for it, some people are against it, and are not afraid to, whether it's name call or anything like that. So, will we see some fan be an idiot and yell something negative toward a player? I think that'll be interesting to see. I hope not. I also would like to see if, even though the meaning behind it will be the same, if it'll have the same, and I don't really know what the right word is, the same luster that Kaepernick doing it had. Because even as the NFL season has wore on, I feel like the issue of a player kneeling, or the practice of a player kneeling, hasn't gained the same notoriety as it did at the start. So will it be kind of the same thing in the NBA, or will it stir more conversation? So those are kind of a couple things I'm looking for when it comes to that.
I think it'll actually probably garner a little more discussion, just as basically because of the makeup of the NBA.
I agree.
Like going across the four major sports, like hockey is like 1% minority athletes. Baseball, it's on the black side, it's very low. You have a lot of Latino and South American athletes. The NFL, you get a little more to that 50-50 mark, but the NBA is basically 90-some% African American. So I think there'll be a little more conversation there, because you might have a higher percentage of teams making that stance, and it'll be a little different of a visual effect. And also, you only have 15 active players on a roster, so
yeah, when it's 1 out of 32 as opposed to 2 out of 15,
Which I think you could see it possibly where it's like 8 out of 15 players or 10 out of 15 players taking that stance. It's going to be it's going to be a bit more of a in your face effect if they do that.
And another reason I think it could potentially bring more discussion is if you look at a lot of the analysts for the NBA, you have more people who already take bold stances, people who aren't scared to say what they feel. I mean, you have people like Charles Barkley.
Jalen Rose.
Yeah, Jalen Rose, definitely another one. And now ESPN has Tracy McGrady.
Yeah.
So, just people who aren't scared to be vocal. So I think it'll be interesting to hear their takes. I assume they'll be, in a supportive role, as most commentators around the sporting world have been. I'm not going to say all, because not all of them are, but the majority, I believe, support the protests. So I don't expect this to be any different. I just think it'll open different avenues of discussion because of who these personalities are.
All right. Who do you guys have winning the Rookie of the Year?
Interesting. I gonna be hard to tell. I'm gonna take a little bit of a shot in the dark and go Buddy Hield.
Okay.
I think he's gonna be a scorer. It's gonna be interesting to see how this injury affects Ben Simmons. I think alongside a player like Anthony Davis, Buddy Hield is going to be able to learn to pass the ball, more effectively. So I think Buddy Hield could find his way in the starting lineup before season end. I think Ben Simmons will as well. I also think Brandon Ingram will. I don't know. I don't want to pick one of the obvious suspects here. Not a lot of people are talking about Buddy Hield. Some people are starting to, the other day in practice, he put on a shooting clinic, but I think Buddy Hield is a very, very fair chance.
Yeah, I had Buddy Hield too. I just think he'll be able to work well with Anthony Davis. And another thing too, just with Anthony Davis, he's been having some issues with injuries. So I think if he goes down or, he has to miss quite a few games, just from having some type of injury, I think they could give Buddy Hield the green light if they find him in the starting lineup. So I think that'll be a good chance for him to thrive. And just with Ben Simmons, I would have him too, but I'll have to just see when exactly he will be back with that injury that he has. So I'm going Buddy Hield too.
Well, yeah, I'm going with one of the safe picks. I'm going to go Brandon Ingram. I would have been looking at Simmons too, but the foot injury that don't know when he's going to come back and how long it takes him to get back into the rhythm of the game. So my pick's Brandon Ingram.
All right. What about MVP?
I'm going to go with the guy I've been talking up pretty much the entire show, Russell Westbrook. It'll be very interesting to see a guy potentially winning on a team that's not making the most noise. As the last few years we've seen, usually your team has to be one of the top teams for you to be considered. But I think Russell Westbrook will be able to average, 20, anywhere between 25 and 30 points with, 9 or 10 rebounds and close to 9 assists. I mean, I just don't see that being unrealistic. I think he's going to have one of the better individual seasons we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that one. I think he's going to be playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, especially now everybody's going to be questioning what Oklahoma City is going to look like without Durant there. All summer it's been Durant this, Durant that. Westbrook's you can see the questions have kind of gotten to him. So and he's that intense type of player. I think you might just see a ridiculous season. I think he has to get Oklahoma City to the playoffs to do it. But
yeah. I would agree.
Definitely in that discussion. Otherwise, I say LeBron because by the end of the year he was getting annoyed with some of the love that Steph Curry was getting. In regards to that, he even had some words about him getting an MVP award. So I think it's one of those two.
For me, I have actually James Harden. I would put Russell Westbrook up there, but I don't think they're going to make it to the playoffs. I think he's going to have the most outstanding season out of any NBA player, but I just think they're going to deduct some points just away from him just because I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. The reason why I have James Harden, just to make it simple, Mike D'Antoni, he's going to be there. He moved him to the point guard position during the time when D'Antoni was coaching the Phoenix Suns. They had a point guard by the name of Steve Nash. He got the MVP award twice. I do think James Harden is a better scorer than Steve Nash, and I think he's going to give him the same freedom.
Just as bad a defender.
Yeah, that's I was about to get there. They both. I think they work well because James Harden is not a good defender, and D'Antoni is not a good coach defensively. So I think that's going to give him the green light on the offense. Run around with the ball for 20 seconds. If you could score. Find somebody
20.
last minute.
20 seconds? Dude, they were trying to shoot the ball in 6.
Yeah, or whatever, it just, but yeah, anyway, just do whatever you can. I think, his James Harden's usage rate is going to be very high, and I just think he's going to be able to pull it off because I think he's going to get to the playoffs over Westbrook. So I think he's going to be the one to get the MVP.
Not a bad pick.
Yeah. Now, who do you guys have winning the finals? Do we all have Golden State?
Yes, sir.
Until proven otherwise.
All right. Now, do you think this will be a three-peat appearance between them and the Cavs? Or
I absolutely do.
All right.
I think it'll be a lot of fun if it is.
Yeah, for sure. So just have to see. Yeah, man, I have Golden State, so it's they're going to be a fun team to watch for sure this year. So all eyes will be on them. All right. But yeah, you guys have any of the final statements?
No.
Nope.
All right. Appreciate you guys for listening to the show. Feel free to subscribe if it's your first time listening. You can check us out on Stitcher, podcast.com, iTunes, YouTube, Google Play. You know, just hit us up in that search box and we should appear. So, and also you can find us on Twitter at DKM_cast. So appreciate you guys for listening as always. Take care. Just hang in there with me for about 10 seconds.